never seen it taught. The way you find maximums and minimums is with calculus or graphs. Whoever said this was appropriately all was wrong. That would be as far as you could do. If you saw a question like this, it would literally be which equation represents the volume of the box. Now, if they ask you to maximize it, it'd be multiple choice. You just pick the numbers that make the box have the biggest volume, right? Right? So, this should have been presented in multiple choice. Whoever presented it wasn't thinking. There is a way to maximize things, but only with calculus. All right, state a function that will reflect the given function over the y-axis. Anybody have any idea how to do that? Think about what's required to reflect over the y-axis. You have some random point at xy, and you reflect it, the x becomes negative, doesn't it?
Negative x of x.
There you go, it's f of negative x. F of negative x. Means that everywhere you see an x, she's negative. You're just supposed to think about what it requires. It just requires the x be negative. That's all it requires. And you take it from there, right? Any issues with that concept? You just have to think. The hard part there. You have to think. You'll notice I just focused on something simple. A real simple point. All right, determine if the given function is even, odd, or neither. Find the domain, range, and any asymptotes of the function. You had this on your little practice test. They were nice enough to give you the rules. You are even if f of negative x is equal to f of x.
And odd is negative f of x.
There you go. You're odd if negative f of x is equal to f of negative x. It's kind of like the even odd rules on your form quiz, isn't it? Cosine of a negative angle is cosine of a positive angle is the even function. The odd ones are sine and tangent. And they were allowed to take the negative and move it up front. It's the same concept as the even odd principles in trigonometry. It really is. So both of these require you know f of negative x. So that's a good place to start. You can probably do these in your head, but I don't know. That would become a negative x minus two negative x's. And I guess she would end up looking like 3 over 2x minus x. Does she look like the original? So we know it's not even. How do you do negative f of x? You either multiply the top or bottom by negative 1. Not both. Top or the bottom by negative 1. So if you multiply the bottom by a negative 1, you might get what you're looking for. Because what's going to do the signs of both pieces of the denominator? Change it. Make it 3 over 2x minus x. She's odd. And if neither one of those is true, you choose neither. That's evens and odds. It's not hard. Of course, the issue is remembering that. And why I mention that is hopefully most of you guys have your even odd formulas down. Great. Cosine is the even one. The other two are odd.
Oh, nobody at least passes the final test.
Oh, most of y'all will. Well, the truth is, most kids don't pass those tests.
Apparently the closest someone at least wants to pass me 3 questions away.
It stinks. I was talking to Burton at Westview. He said about half of his usually do. think you'll all do well. If f of x is 3x squared minus x plus 4, and especially if you do those two practice finals I'm giving you. F of x is 3x squared minus x plus 4, and g of x is 2x minus 1. Find f of g of x. What does that mean? Yes. They like this new notation. This is notation that's starting to take over. But it makes more sense when it's like that. That means that every x becomes g of x, which is what you're saying. So every x in f of x is 2x minus 1. And it does take a little bit of work. It's not that bad. Most of y'all in this room think boil in your head. Any issues with the setup that you see? All right. What do you get if you square 2x minus 1? I hope you didn't say 4x squared plus 1. So I had permission, I'd beat you. Okay, that's better. 3 times 4x squared minus 4x plus 1. They let us slap you all around, you do a lot better. You know that, right? Give the right answers for fear of being hit. It works. It works. Really good. Yeah, you guys know what to do from there? Because I'd rather not burn time on. Everybody think they can take it from there? I'd rather not burn time on. The big deal is you understand that you're supposed to substitute in and that you know how to FOIL. 18, fine. What does that f to the negative first power mean? Find the inverse and state the domain of the inverse, including any restrictions inherited from the original function. Let's talk about that first. What's something the original function can't be? X can't be 3. Why? Can't divide by 0. So even though the inverse may not look like that, it still can't happen. Because if the original function didn't exist, neither does the inverse. So still can't be 3 no matter what. What's the first step in writing an inverse? Swap x and y. So f of x becomes x. And x becomes y. Now if you do that, comes the second step, which is usually many steps. What do you solve for? How are we going to solve this one for y? You like fractions? Clear it. How do you clear the fraction? Multiply by y minus 3. Next step? Nope. If you subtract 5, you'll still have y's on both sides. And you won't be able to go anywhere with it. Minus property itself, you distribute. It may seem like it's not the best route because it makes things look a little bit worse, but it is. What are you solving for? Put your y's on one side, everything else where? On the other side. I'm going to move my y's left. Yx has a y. That one's negative when she shifts over. 3x is positive when it shifts over. There you go. I do this technique because I can, because I've done it 100 times. I know it works every time. A lot of kids like to say, why do you do this? You do this because of the outcome. The outcome is that you'll get to factor, and then you'll get to isolate, right? What's the opposite of multiplication? Division.
there is your inverse.
What's the one thing the inverse can't be?
1.
1. So x can't be 3, nor can x be 1. Just do it in set order. All values of x such that x is either 3 over 1. Just remember the technique. That's how to do it. No. After changing tires a few times, you gotta know the difference between righty tighty and lefty loosey. Just catch on. Eventually we'll quit thinking about it. The answer is no to do. Finally some trig. Given the sine of theta is 2/3 and the cosine of theta is less than 0, find secant. What's your little acronym for the xy axis? There you go. All strippers take cash. One day you'll go into the strip joint and you'll be like, he was right.
How such negative has to be?
I actually don't know. But I assume they don't express. I assume. It says sine is 2/3. In which two quadrants is the sine ratio positive? First and second.
Cosine's also negative, so it has to be the same.
There you go. That means negativity. That happens here, here. So quadrant 2 satisfies both. What are you going to draw in quadrant 2? A friggin' triangle. So your little angle in the corner. From SOHCAHTOA, what's the sine ratio? Opposite over hypotenuse. So 2 is opposite, 3 is hypotenuse. Think again.
Oh, wait, no, it's 9 minus 4.
9 minus 4, isn't it?
3 or 5.
Root 5. Direction matters. Negative. She's right and left. Remember the secant ratio? It's the funny guy. Secant is ha, reciprocal of cosine. So, what, 3 over negative root 5? You know, I wouldn't be too shocked on a non-calculator test if they left it like that. I wouldn't be. But does everybody know how to clean it up? Don't be surprised if they do things like that. You know, there's a way you're supposed to do things, and we teach you it's formal, or whatever, but sometimes on tests, they just literally try to speed kids up. They do. So I'm just going to stop there. It's technically right, it's just not formally right. Give the exact value of the cosecant of 29 pi over 3. That is a very large angle. What's pi over the degrees? 180. That doesn't do me a lot of good. God, this is a big angle. That's 29 times 60. 30 60s would be what, 1800? So this would be 1740. Right? 30 60s would be 1800. You're missing 1 for 29, so 1740 degrees. God, that thing's big. How many 360s you want to take away from this thing? 4 of them? 5 360s would be 1800 degrees, and that's not a bad idea. Because you can graph a negative angle just fine, can't you? How's your rotate? Clockwise. Remember, you'll have the little calculator too, by the way. That's square. Like, oh God, I got to figure that out. No, you don't. You do 29 times, get 29 times 60 or whatever, you're good, right? And you can say minus 360, minus 360, minus 360. Actually, like Kyle's suggestion of just taking away 1800, because that's a negative rotation down there. And all strippers take cash. Our answer going to be positive or negative? Negative. This is about cosine and secant. Positive. Our answer is going to be negative. All I know is it's a negative something. Anyways, you had 60 degrees of rotation from 30, 60, 90 theorem. What's something opposite of 60 degrees? Root 3. Times better. Negative. What's adjacent to 60? What's hypotenuse? 2. We want cosecant. What do you remember about cosecant? Oh, that's right. Cosecant's a whole. Every boy's favorite trig ratio. So we got 2 over negative root 3. And I'm not going to waste your time cleaning that up either. Unless you need it.
Some of your notes might stop sooner or later, I don't know. Because I added to these after I made copies. Find the amplitude, period, phase shift, and vertical asymptotes. Oh, it's secant. Oh, good Lord, that's horrible. It's secant. For y equals negative 2 secants 2x minus pi. Let's see here. You guys were taught, doesn't matter if it was sine or cosine, a sines of b times x minus, I think yours was c, and then plus d. I think that's how you were taught. First 4 letters of the alphabet. What's A? Amplitude. What's B? Influence. Period. What's this? A period. Period. It's usually 2 pi over b, depending on the trig function. Only in factored form is C your phase shift. And D is your vertical shift. I don't honestly believe they're going to ask you to graph C. I don't.
You don't remember what secant looks like? See, cosine starts high, doesn't she?
You gotta make the opposite of
Secant's the best. But I don't honestly think they're going to ask you to graph it. I do think it's very reasonable that they ask you to create a phase shift. That wouldn't shock me if they asked you that. So what's the period? It's 2. It's not negative. The negative is the reflection. This thing doesn't start high, it starts low. The period is 2. That comes from that leading number, northern sun. To do your phase shift, you need to do a little factor. Pull out a 2. What do you get if you pull a 2 from pi? You get pi over 2. Now you can get your phase shift. I forgot all about period. I jumped straight to phase shift for some reason. Sorry. What's your phase shift? It's positive pi over 2. And the thing that Keeley never liked was period. She never liked it, but the period is simply 2 pi over b. And what's the b value? 2. So 2 pi over 2.
you mean the amplitude
Yes,
is 2.
he-
That's why I was so confused when you said period is 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Amplitude is 2, period is pi.
Does negative matter in amplitude?
No, the negative symbol is the reflection. Instead of rising, it falls. Or in a case of, yeah,
It just depends where it starts. That's what it does.
this one would start up at positive, one would start, wouldn't start at positive, it would start at negative 2.
Doesn't matter amplitude, you already read positive.
Always. Amplitude is literally the amps on electricity.
But those were amperes.
They're the same concept.
Um,
It's still the same stuff. You ever hear of negative amps?
alternating.
Yeah, I guess you can have the alternating current.
That's the one I'm familiar with.
Moving forward, please don't be a trig graph. Please don't be a trig graph. Ah, it's not a trig graph. Something worse. That.
Cosine of A plus B.
Now, you do have a reference sheet here. You do. I wish I had it up on here. But you're gonna have this little sheet of paper, okay? That you can look at. I don't know that you have yours. But what I see on this one, I see cosine, cosine, sine, sine. This is cosine, and the way your reference sheet is written is S plus T.
So many times not memorize it. That's good.
So, what are you supposed to do with your two angles?
Have that.
You're supposed to have them. This is the cosine of 2 pi over 9 plus 4 pi over 9.
This is 6 pi over 9, which is 2 pi over 3.
That's right. Two pi over 3 is something you can work with. Ideally, one of the first things y'all do is on your scratch paper, you write it down in a circle. I should really probably give you a circle quiz. I really should. You're at 2 pi over 3. What's the x value?
Okay.
Negative 1/2. That's right. Easy peasy. You get that? I know not everybody does. Oh God, these simplification. Simplify this thing. 1 over 1 minus cosine minus 1 over 1 plus cosine. On the, I've got another final to give you. I'll give it to you in class. In the videos, I'm sure you have to cheat on these. There's a multiple choice. You can cheat. You just throw a pi at the thing and see what it gives you. But anyways, simplify this thing on down. This is adding fractions together. It is. You probably don't remember this, but maybe you know. How do you add A over C plus B over D?
A plus BC over C.
That's right. Your class, I might put this on the phone, which is theirs, I did not. That's the rule. So what's this one again? It's 1 plus cosine, isn't it? Minus because there's a minus, not a plus. What's that one again? And there's two things there. Anytime there's two things, what do you do? Right out. The bottom is the product of the denominators. Hence CD, common denominator. 1 minus cosine, 1 plus cosine. Those happen to be, what's the word? What is 1 plus cosine to 1 minus cosine? Conjugates. When you're conjugating, you have to do the full FOIL process. First and last. That's all you gotta do. If you do first and last, what do you get?
1 minus cosine squared.
I'm glad that showed up, because most of y'all know what that is.
Sine squared.
Okay, we'll just keep working on that. That's sine squared. I don't dispute it at all. What's up top?
1 plus cosine theta minus 1 plus cosine theta. So it's 2 cosine theta. No.
Yes. He's right. The ones cancel. Then you have cosine take away a negative cosine. 2 cosines. So close to being done. You might have to view sine squared as sine times sine to see it. I don't know. Everybody sees things the same way. But you got a cosine over sine. What's that make? Tangent. So you got 2 tangents. Two cotangents. That's right. 2 cotangents. And you still have 1 over sine to work with. That's 1 over sine.
Cosecant. Two cotangents, cosecant. Theta. Full reduction. If this is multiple choice, I'd show you how to cheat. This question's not multiple choice. And I think we're out of time, aren't we? Very close to it. Monday we'll finish this. Tuesday you'll get to play with the testing platform and take practice tests online. If you don't finish it Tuesday, you finish it Wednesday.
Is the test online?
That's what's online, yeah. What century are we in? Actually, is a good question. What century are we in? 21st. Another practice final. I'm almost done. What the day ends up like that. Not even close to it.
Let's talk about the algebra. It has a lot of cardinals and coordinates and logarithms.
Well, good. Y'all like all that.
Oh,
There's 6 different versions of this.
I think I did.
That's the stuff I probably should probably study that.
Whatever test they took was on a different day.
Yeah.
You won't have the same